And getting back to what Reverend Walter Jones brought up, legislation that exists right now in the Illinois Senate, I believe there's a bill pending, and I believe it's Senate Bill 1864, which Senator Kimberly Lightford, I believe, is the sponsor of. And I have a copy of this with me right now. And this new legislation, it's not law yet, and I hope it doesn't become law, but this law basically would have an end date for the Council on Responsible Fatherhood. The Council on Responsible Fatherhood, which is a state commission, which I really believe is great for dads and children and families, based on this new legislation, it would end July 1st of '09. So if this legislation becomes law, theoretically, the Council on Responsible Fatherhood can cease to exist, and I think that would be terrible, because this is a state commission which consists of council members that are working for free to help the state of Illinois, and I just think that this legislation is something that needs to be strongly opposed, and I don't know if the Reverend wants to talk about that or comment on it, because we also have our producer, Tim O'Grady, again, holding up a sign with a bunch of names on it, and there's one that's upside down, so I think that's the one we should get on the air. Jill, could you please put Jill on the air? Jill, welcome to Chicago Counterpoint. We have Reverend Walter Jones here, and I'm Jeff Loving.
Hi, thanks. I'm calling for my brother. He has recently gotten divorced, and his wife moved to Missouri with their 2 children, and he needs to know what he can do to make sure that his visitation rights are still enforced.
Well, it's interesting you brought up this question, because Timothy O'Grady, who is our producer, who volunteers his time for free to get this show on the air, is licensed to practice law in Missouri. He's a brilliant litigator. He's a tough lawyer in court, but he also has compassion, and he's a human being, and he cares about children. And Tim O'Grady is our producer, so I can't put him on the air, but I wish he was on the air now, because he practices law in Missouri and Illinois. But what really needs to be done here is aggressively get into court to seek a return of these children to the state of Illinois, because if they remain out of Illinois for a 6-month period or greater under the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Act, or the presumption is that the home state then changes to Missouri. So if the father moves quickly and gets into court very quickly with the correct petition, then the home state should be Illinois, and the litigation should hopefully occur in Illinois. If the father doesn't move quickly, or if he is a lazy or a lawyer who is not tenacious and aggressive and waits too long, the case could end up in Missouri, which would be generally more difficult for the father if the father's in Illinois. Thank you for calling. Our next caller, Ian. Ian, welcome to Chicago Counterpoint with Jeffrey Loving and Reverend Jones. You're on the air, Ian.
Hello. Yes, my name is Isadora Levant, and I'm calling regarding, we're in the process of going through a divorce, okay, and she stays in Florida, I stayed in Illinois, and I was wondering what was the procedure would be as far as me filing for a divorce here or filing divorce there. What would be the procedure as my rights as far as, being dating with the father and mother saying that she's going to file in Florida? What would be my rights as far as me have to go over there, or she would have to come here? How would that be worked out?
What's interesting, I worked on a case which may be similar to yours. I was representing a dad, and his wife took their little boy and moved to Jacksonville, Florida. I advised him to file quickly, because unfortunately it's a race to the courthouse to determine which state determines whether to relinquish jurisdiction or not. In this case, the father was such a nice guy that he didn't want to file first, because he just was almost too nice of a guy. He ended up a target looking for an arrow, so he wouldn't file first because he was hoping that things would work out. And he waited, and the mother filed first. So I had to fly down to Jacksonville, Florida to litigate jurisdiction, and I was successful in convincing the judge in Florida to relinquish jurisdiction, and the case ended up coming back to Illinois, and it was litigated in Illinois, where I was able to get him custody of his little boy. But the key in that case is if the father would have followed my advice and allowed me to file first, jurisdiction would have been decided in Illinois, and I would not have had to have run to Jacksonville, Florida to litigate jurisdiction, which took a lot of time. It was very difficult, and I had to, rent a hotel room. I had to litigate in Florida. It was a lot of work. It would have been a lot easier emotionally and financially for this dad if he would have filed first. Now, what I prefer doing is getting more information about your case, and if you want to call the Fatherhood Educational Institute, that would be a great start. And all you'd have to do is dial 312-795-9060. That's 312-795-9060. And also, if you want a free copy of Father's Rights, which is a book I wrote on fathers' custody litigation and related issues.
Now that book, we talked about that book last week.
Exactly.
So how many guys called in for a copy of that book last time?
Oh, a lot. Actually, we gave away over 100 free copies. We received a lot of calls, and if this gentleman wants a free copy of Father's Rights, this is what it looks like. The book is absolutely free. All you have to do is call 312-795-9060, and I guess our producer Tim O'Grady is jumping up and down with the show's publicist Ms. Masterson. So I guess we better take the call.
And then let's